everyone. This is Steve Rozenberg with Mynd Property Management, and today I am joined with my good friend Trevor Steadman. Trevor is the portfolio manager for our Reno operations for Mynd. Trevor, thanks for having me, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. All right, Trevor. So this is something that's coming up. They just actually changed the law, so this is very, very important. Let's talk emotional support animals. I want to know, is this an issue in Reno? I know nationally it's a big thing. It's going on. There's a lot of conversations. I'd like to get your take on it from a local Reno matter and kind of go on. And we talked before about a new law that actually was just enacted. So let's kind of dig into this here. How does somebody in Reno handle an emotional support animal?
Yeah, this is kind of the million-dollar question that's been brewing, I think, for the last 5 years, as HUD at the federal level has released some pretty ambiguous statements regarding emotional support animal, either for the reason of they don't want to define clearly and get caught in a double-edged sword, or they want to give a general blanket policy for everyone in the U.S. And really, it's causing more problems than I think solutions. At the end of the day, investors know that pets aren't always the most welcomed thing inside of a rental property. Damages, and we've had horror stories with replacement costs and stuff that happen. But unfortunately, there are a lot of really good pet owners out there. A lot of good pet owners who are also renters. And so emotional support animal, I think, is the gray area between those two for the people who need to have the support animal and have the paperwork and the documentation to back it up. But unfortunately, the people who fall into that category and abuse the system are what are making the rules and regulations for investors so difficult to work with, only because who do you believe? Really, at the end of the day, the HUD guidelines that were recently updated within the last month and a half provided a little bit more structure to the policy. They still could be pretty misrepresented and miscued. And it can still get you in a lot of trouble if you don't follow them to the T. My recommendation, and I've been touting this company, I think, since they were originally launched about 1.5 years ago, there's a service called petscreening.com that actually has a panel of attorneys that actually go and vet the medical professionals that issue all of these documentations that typically people would get from a medical professional. The problem is that there's also certificates that you can buy online that kind of bypass the entire process here.
It's like so you get one and then someone else gets something to counter it, right?
That's exactly it. And that's usually how the market reacts to these situations. Something changes and then, they'll go and try to make the other workaround to get to what they had before. But what I like about this service, and we've actually used them pretty extensively in our application process, is that they actually call the professional. Dr. Smith, we see here that you issued a note to your patient 3.5 months ago for the following reasons. And we just want to make sure that this note came from your office and it's verified. If everything checks out, you're covered. And really, at the end of the day, working with companies like this actually comes at no cost to the landlord. Petscreening.com is a free service to a landlord. The resident on their end does pay a screening fee, but those are costs that you can disclose up front in your application and know that at the end of the day, whatever the outcome is, you'll be protected because someone did the screening right.
You're so right. I'm actually friends with the owner that started that company, and it's a true form of leverage in my opinion, because I do not want to be the person, if I own a property or even a property management company for that matter, I do not want to be the one that says I'm current and I know what the current laws are in the current state or region. I don't want to know that. And one of the things I want to make sure is that someone who's answering that question that is reliable and responsible, like attorneys, they're the ones that are telling me yes or no. And basically, the best way I could explain it is what petscreening.com does is they basically do a complete background check on the animal. And so they are saying, we verify that this is an emotional support animal. Here's the laws and regulations that you need to follow. And, or because what people don't realize is there's therapy animals, there's service animals, there's emotional support animals. So that there's a different, there's the overarching animal, and then there's different derivatives in there that if you have no idea what this means, again, you can't just say we don't take animals. There are laws, protected classes that protect these animals and these owners. And the last thing you want to do is get on the backside of that, where now you're defending what you said or did or didn't do and how you treated a certain animal by being ignorant to the law. And that's why I like, petscreen.com is great, because they take that responsibility away from you and they take the burden of proof, and they will tell you this is the law and we will stand behind it. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and even to buttress that point as well, if you do end up proving documentation-wise for an emotional support service animal, it's free. The company is all about transparency. So, if you go forward and say your landlord says, hey, use the system, register it, if all of your ducks are in a row and all your paperwork comes back completed, it's free of cost to the landlord and to the resident who's applying. So that's a win-win, in my opinion. And just to, make a comment on what you said as well about regretting what you said, that's exactly why we use services like this, because at the end of the day, it only takes one phone call, one email that has one misunderstanding or misconstrued sentence, and you're in front of a HUD complaint at $10,000 a pop. And it's definitely not a position any investor want to be in.
100% agree. You don't want to get into that mess. So Trevor, obviously you're very well versed in this, and people should be contacting you if they have questions. If they do want to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
Yeah, definitely. We have an office here on 1575 DeLucci Lane in Reno, right on the backside of Meadowood Mall. And my number here is 775-335-0124. Talk to investors all the time about these hot topics.
Yeah, and definitely you should reach out to Trevor. And even if you're not even wanting to have us manage the property, just to get the education, that's education is paramount in this industry because it is ever changing. If you'd like to be educated more, you should go to our Facebook group. That is the Mastermind, MYND, Mastermind Real Estate Investment Club. There you'll be able to converse and engage with like-minded investors. You'll be able to talk all things real estate, whether it's a local or a larger scale. But again, you can engage with fellow investors. Also, I would encourage you to subscribe to our podcast show. That is the Mindful Investor podcast. It comes out on iTunes, Spotify every week. And there we have everywhere from novice investors to the upper level investors. And we talk to them about not only their successes, but also what their challenges were and how they got through them. Because to me, as an investor like Trevor, that's what we want to know. I want to pick their brains and figure out what are they doing to get to that success. And that's why we pass that on to our listeners. So make sure you subscribe to both of those. And on behalf of Trevor and myself, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group.